Okay. Good. Okay. So yep, hi everyone. Welcome back. So this time around, last time when we left off, we started this new project, got this thing rendering here. There was a bit of fussing at the end with just type conversion stuff. I asked on Discord, we'll fix this soon. But once we do that, for the rest of the day, I just want to get this grid rendering with some kind of colors that actually represents like 4 possibilities of things in here. I think in the end we'll just go with the numbers 1 through to 4, but we can start off with something like colors, and then maybe next time or the next time after we'll start importing bitmap fonts and doing rendering with them instead. So let's get started on that. So since last time I reached out on Discord and someone helped me out with doing all of this type conversion stuff in the easiest way. And so the easiest way to do this is to define an offset. Okay, the key point here was that last time we had an index I that was ranging from 0 to 4. It was a type U size, and we needed to convert it to a float with 32 bits. I struggled last time, but this was working. There's a much easier way to do this. So instead, we can just say the offset is equal to the type F32 once we convert from it should be float from int, and then we can actually just use the I here and then subtract the 2 later, and then this should be all we need to do in order to do that conversion. Let me just double check this is still working. And actually, I'm just going to change this 4x4 folder here to something without the underscores. So we want to do move 4x4 to just 4x4. Okay. Windows yelling at me. Okay, better. Okay, so I also realized that the code that just draws this grid can be simplified. I did some copy pasta thing here, but I realized that the horizontal offsets for the vertical bars is the same as the vertical offsets for the horizontal bars. And so in fact, we can just like cut this line, paste it in here, and then provided I'm using this correct offset, I should be able to get rid of all of this, and we should still get the same thing. Zig build run. I should maybe move it here. Though I'm kind of unsure why all of this compilation is happening every time. I swear in the butterfly app it wasn't that slow. Anyway, point is it's working. Okay. So this render grid function, we want to actually pass in a grid to it and then start rendering this. Let's just actually define an example of a grid. Okay, so when we did this yesterday, I thought, since we know what all of the tiles are going to be, let's define this enum union. Thinking about it again, I think this is a kind of nasty solution. I think it would actually be better to just define a tile to be a signed 8-bit number. So what's the best way of doing it? How do we do this in Z? I just want to say that, basically. And then negative numbers can represent, sorry, 0 can just represent an empty tile. And then a positive number represents a fixed tile. And then we can say like a negative number, sorry, we'll do a positive number represents, yeah, it doesn't matter which way it goes. A negative number can represent a, kind of like a selected tile. And I think, yeah, just having a grid in this way will mean which means like things will be easier. Like the Zig programming language knows very easily how to deal with integers. By doing this, we will stop ourselves from having to deal with lots of extra stuff by defining some new type. Defining the new type is unnecessary. The question is, how do we actually, what's the easiest way in Zig to actually define a type alias? I've never done this before. Let's check out the documentation. Yeah, I know how to do this in Odin, but we are programming in Zig now. Could it just be like, I think it could just possibly be this. We'll try this. Okay, and then we want an example. So why don't we do constant grid1, and we want this to now be a grid. Let's make this kind of simple permutation. 3, 2, 1, and okay. If we want this to be actually like a proper 4x4 Sudoku, I should think carefully about what the next lines are. Okay, if we made that a 2, then this one here would have to be a 3. Therefore, this would have to be a 1 and a 4. Okay, working so far. This leaves 3 and a 4, so that would need to be that, and then we would have 1 and 2. I think that's a legit Sudoku. Okay, we'll need to write a function, a validating function. Write a procedure to validate whether or not the given grid is a valid solution. Okay. Anyway, back to the rendering part. Okay, so when we actually render this grid now, we want to render this grid 1. Okay. So yeah, so currently we've just drawn the background and the bar, so now we actually want to draw the tiles. Draw the non-empty tiles in the grid. So why don't we start off by just drawing these as different colored squares. So maybe we have, this is just totally temporary. But why don't we say that the number 1 corresponds to red, 2 can correspond to green, 3 can correspond to blue, and what should 4 correspond to? Make this like yellow. Okay. I think this will it will be useful to be able to fall back to some really easy way to visualize this stuff when we come to do all of the fixed font bitmap stuff. Okay, but first we should define these colors. Okay, so we can have const red, and this is just going to be 25500. 255, and then we just want to commute the parts appropriately. And what's yellow? Yellow is red and green. Okay. Green, blue, yellow. Let's put them all in line. Kind of. Okay, so now we just want to say for I want to loop over the grid here, but since we're defining this, okay. Currently, we've defined this grid as truly this kind of matrix. I'm kind of tempted to just make this have a type of 16 tiles. It might just make looping over it a lot easier. And it's not immediately clear to me what the benefit of having this is. Let's just try this. Okay, so now I can say, in this grid, we want to iterate over the tiles. And we want to keep track of the indices of these. We're going to have to first get the x and y coordinates of this index. So we can say the xi is going to be the I value mod 4. The compiler will likely just do an and here, but we may as well. Let's just get the last 3 bits of this. Likewise, the y here is going to be I divided by 4. Actually, okay, instead of just doing bit manipulation stuff here, for clarity, we'll just do this. We can check later that, like, I have full confidence that the compiler knows how to deal with it. It'll be a bit easier this way. Okay, so then with these, we want to draw the appropriate color. So let's do a switch statement, and I've forgotten exactly how to do this. How do we do switches again? Yeah. Oh, we can define constants with the switch. Okay, this is useful. We can say color equals const color is equaling to switching the tile, and then we want to do, how do we do the cases? We have one. And I guess we can just say return red here. And then if it's a 1, return green. If it's 2, return blue. And if it is 3, return yellow. And otherwise, what should we return? Just like, we can return a debug color. And is that all we need? Possibly. Let's just define a debug color to be, say, let's make it magenta. And then we'll just define magenta in here. So magenta is, blue and red? Okay, so now we've got that color. We now want to just draw a centered rectangle at the appropriate position. So we can say the rectangle position is going to equal, and like, just as a side, it's going to take me a while to stop writing that when I'm writing variables. I'm so used to Odin. The rectangle position, we want this to be vector 2, and okay, how is this calculation going to work? So a 0, 0 should correspond to an offset of kind of -2 and -2. It might actually be easier to just define the position of the center of the top left. Yeah, of the top. I guess I can bring it up. Okay, we don't want to build it just yet. Let's just get the version that was working. If we instead just define the center to be this part here, we can then we won't need to do much manipulation with the xi's and the yi's to get the center of all of the other things. So let's just do that. Yeah, so when we're drawing all of this, we want to say the top left, it's really a square. It's not really a rectangle. The top left rect square position is going to be a vec2 given by what? Given by the grid position, which is just the center. And then we're adding to this, or rather subtracting from this. Okay, the center of the grid position is here. We want to subtract like 1.5 of these squares, and then 1.5 gray squares, and then 1.5 of the black line segments. Okay. Okay. Normally in Odin I'd just write this, but I'm pretty sure we can't do that in Zig because the times operator doesn't work like that. That's fine. We just do 1.5 times the sum of the components, and then we're left with 0. And so we want to sum the square length with the bar thickness. Okay. Okay. And that's that position. And then we will want to offset this. So the offset is now going to be the top left square position plus xi times the sum of the square length and the bar length. And then that will at least be that position. And then the yi times the same thing, the square length plus the bar thickness. And then we just want to draw a square there of the given color. So now we want to say draw centered rect. The rect colors, where the width and the height now are the square length, and the color is what we determined before. Okay. Let's try compiling this. No. Okay. Some errors. Need for these. And why don't we just align these while we're at it? 6.8. Incomparable types usize in F32. Okay. We can just do a similar thing that we did at the beginning. So this is to say we want this to be as F32s, and then we want to cast this operation. Hang on, that's not right. We want to do float from int, that operation. And I think this should be, I think you can do this on usize. That should be fine. And let's just copy it down here instead. Does this work? Okay. Good. Almost working, but we're off with the position of everything. Okay. What exactly is off about this? I'm also really concerned with the colors as well, in that these are not red. We're getting some debugs here. I don't know where the red is going. Those all seem fine. I certainly didn't do any zeros there. Oh, I see. So really, 0 should be debug. Actually, maybe that's better. Okay. Color's better. And now the position of them. Okay, so the horizontal position of these are correct. It's the verticals that are off. Alright, instead of a 0 here, this should just be the same. Okay, good. At least on my screen, I'm still seeing some weird rendering artifacts where there's like a pixel of the background present. I guess we could get rid of that by extending the dimension of the square slightly. But if we did that as stated, these squares would start overlapping with the grid. So I think we just want to draw the grid later on. But we'll make them slightly thicker as well. Okay, so instead of exactly the square length here, what if we said tile the tile name is equal to the square length plus 0.5 times the bar thickness, and then get rid of these. And then we want to draw the bars a bit later. So in particular, we can draw them down here. Okay. Let's see what this gives us. Great. No more artifact, and yeah, things seem to be working. Okay, let's save that. So yeah, we've only modified that, and so what should we say? we can describe this as saying, yeah, started rendering tiles. Okay, push that to the GitHub servers. And okay, what next? Like it's only been half an hour, so I don't exactly want to end everything tonight. I don't want to do bitmap stuff either. Okay. We know where the source code of this project is for now, at least. So why don't we save that? Okay. Yeah, there's so many things we're going to have to do in this project. Okay, so one thing we could do maybe quickly is implement some functionality to go from one screen to the other. We could also do a menu screen. That feels like a kind of later thing to do though. But then it might be useful actually getting that kind of control flow in initially. I feel like the focus should remain on the core loop though, but we can at least write this stuff down. Okay, so we can say, so I'm going to say main menu, and this will mainly just have two options, like 10 handcrafted puzzles, and then possibly, so I might add 2 stars here to denote something's possible. Randomized puzzles, and this, we could do this with various degrees of difficulty. We want to provide some ability for people to play this without a mouse. So we're going to have to think about kind of selecting empty spaces, or think about playing game with the keyboard only. We also kind of want to do mouse interaction as well. So you might have like dragging tile functionality. What else? We want some way to have like an easy level list. So we want to write some kind of basic parser that takes a text file and at comp time or even possibly at runtime, process that to make some grid puzzles. This would be a really easy thing to do, but it will be a bit tedious. And what else? more stuff in the future, but this is at least immediate. So yeah, what is something to do in the next 30 minutes? I feel like actually even just getting a main menu going is something somewhat feasible. Okay, so let's think about this then. So why don't we have an enum that is just the game mode. And what's the syntax again for these? Not what I was looking for. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of type. So why don't we say game mode? Make this an enum, and then why don't we just say menu and not puzzles, but like random is one of them, or could be one of them. And another one we could just say okay, actually what if it's like puzzles handcrafted, main menu, and then puzzles randomized. Okay. And then in our main loop, we want to figure out what's what. So before, when we initially start the game, we want to set, we want a global that keeps track of this stuff. What should we call this? Just game mode would be fine. So we can make this of type game mode, and at the beginning it is undefined. And then we want to set the game mode here to be main menu. And then we're going to have to do some processing input here and then updating it. Okay, so why don't we do it so that a mouse click transitions it from a main menu to the puzzles, and then when we're drawing the main menu, we just draw like a white square or something, and then this will at least get us the scaffolding necessary. Okay, so let's do this. We need to do mouse input. We did this before in the previous app. Let's just use the ideas there. And this app was also called process. This procedure was also called process input update state. We are going to want both the mouse positions and when the left button is down. So I think we can just copy these over. But this will necessitate us making some globals. In particular, we want a mouse down. We also want a mouse down last frame. actually. And we want a mouse position. Okay. So let's see. This mouse down is just a bool. Mouse down last frame is also a bool. And the mouse position is a vec2. That's not correct. Okay. We do all of that. We'll need to initialize what some of these are. Yeah, in particular this mouse down last frame. Why don't we just make this one false? And then everything else is going to get defined in here. Okay, so now we want to say change from the main menu to the puzzle. This is all just temporary. To the puzzles when the left mouse is clicked. Okay, so we can say that is just test if it's been clicked. So if the mouse is down and the mouse was not down last frame, the mouse has been clicked. So then we want to say that the game mode is now equal to what is it? Puzzles handcrafted. And that's kind of all you need. And then in the rendering, we're going to want to do different rendering depending on the game type. So let's switch on the game mode. And then we have the dot main menu case. And in this we want to kind of do nothing. I just do that. I want to use a switch statement here, just like some if else. Can we actually do that? Like, how do you do a switch with nothing on it? That's what I want to know. Like, can I just have an empty switch? Oh, okay, I can just do it like that, I guess. Okay, so if it's the main menu, do nothing. If it's handcrafted, I'm being silly. We don't actually want to do nothing. If it's the main menu, we want to just render the main menu. Let's call it render menu. If we're doing the handcrafted puzzles, then we want to render a grid. And make this the grid 1. And then if the puzzles are randomized, we're not doing any of this yet, so we should just say unreachable. From memory, that's kind of how we do that. Okay. We now need to define a render menu function. And so let's in this just we've already cleared the background, so let's just render a box. So we can just say draw centered rect, like in the middle of the screen. And then let's just make this like 100 by 100 pixels, and we'll make this the debug color. Create an actual main. Okay, let's give this a spin and see how it is working or not working. 97. 140. Expected return type expression found parentheses. Oh yeah, this isn't doing anything, so it's a void. When you don't return, you need to void. And now we're getting expected comma after switch from 172. Is this another void issue? Yeah. Okay. That looks good to me. We clicked, and it changed. Hurrah. Annoyingly, the name of this binary is using the underscore notation, and the title here has a space between it. Just for consistently, let's change all of that. So I'll make it 4x4 Sudoku game, and then in Zig, in the build file, we want to change, here it is. Let's make this name 4x4 Sudoku. Okay. Great. Working as intended. Good. So yeah, let's add all of this then. So we can say started making a main menu small name and small name changes. Okay. It's a bit past midnight, so I kind of want to go to bed, but I want to do something else first. That's not bitmap stuff. We could actually just make a button. So instead of just clicking anywhere, you need to really select this part. Select this box to begin the game. We implemented function functionality in the previous app, so I'm kind of tempted just to copy some of that over. But it may be useful to come up with a different button struct. Because I think in this game we're going to want a variety of buttons and not just rectangles or squares. Probably some circles, probably some triangles. Let's add that to the list. What's this? Typing left out shift changes your input language. Go away. Think about implement appropriate buttons, not just rectangles. Okay, and maybe we should just think about some of the design at this point. So each of these will contain numbers from like 1 to 4 that are either like typed, blanked, or maybe a different color or squirrely to indicate that these are ones that have been chosen by the player. We could also, for the tasks that are going to be dragged in by the player with the mouse, we want an area to have those options available so that they can be dragged. Perhaps a natural place to do that is just underneath this grid. So we can add that to the to-do list and start doing a tiny bit of that now. Create a place for a possible tile to be dragged. Okay. Okay, so let's see, when we're rendering this grid, the current position is just the center of the screen. Let's move this up slightly. So instead, let's make this 0.3 times that. And okay. And in addition to rendering this grid, we'll want to render the tile options. We won't be returning anything, so this should be a void. And let's just draw a rectangle a base rectangle to begin with. So we can say tile background tile option the rectangle position. This is such a mouthful. Why don't we just say background rect pose? We'll make this equal to the middle of the screen, but now slightly below. So maybe 0.7 times the height. And then we want to give this a color. So let's make another global for that. So we can say tile option rect because it's kind of a background, like background, maybe just tile option background. Let's make this a light gray to begin with. And then let's just draw what this should kind of be. Okay, what should the width and the height be? The height should just be a slightly larger version of the square tiles themselves. Oh, okay. We were defining the squares down here to be a given length, but we kind of want access to them up here as well. So perhaps, perhaps it actually just makes sense to render both the grid and the tile options at the same time. Okay, so maybe instead of render grid, then we just want to change this. Yeah, what if we made this render puzzle instead? Because I feel that like defining heaps of different functions to render different parts is going to be unnecessary and will just complicate things. Okay, so after we've done all of the grid stuff, we then want to render the grid options. Oops, I copied stuff I shouldn't have. Still want to do render puzzles. It's this stuff here we want to get rid of. We want to copy. Okay, back down here we go. Draw tile options. Okay. So we got that. We then want we want to calculate the width of these things. So we can say background rect width is equal to, okay, the height is going to be easy actually. So the height should just be maybe 1.5 times the square length. And then in terms of the height, why don't we make this, we kind of want to add some spacing in between these. Let's make this a variable. So I'm going to say tile option spacing. And let's make this 0.05 times whatever we want. Okay, I want this to be similar to the bar thickness. And the bar thickness was defined by what? 0.01 times the minimum screen dimension. So let's do that. Let's make it 0.02 times the minimum screen dimension. And then, okay. And now the width of this is going to be 4 times the square length plus 5 lots of the spacing. And then the height is just going to be 1 of the square lengths plus 2 of the tile option spacing. Now we can draw it. Okay. So now we want to say draw a centered rect at the background rect position. Then the height of it, we want it to be I'm just despairing a bit that these variables have long names, but they're really descriptive. Background rect width, background rect height, and then the color, which we chose in a global to be what? The tile option background. Okay. Let's compile this, or at least attempt to compile it. And then I think once this works, once we get this working, I'll call it a night. Undeclared use of identifier render puzzles. 132. Yeah, it's really just render puzzle. Okay, click, and the rectangle is there. Maybe one more thing before bedtime. Let's just draw each of the possible tiles, as well as rearrange the height slightly. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So first of all, for the height option, okay, pause here is now a bit too general. So why don't we call this the grid position? This is the grid position. Let's make it 0.4 instead of 0.3. Yeah, we want this to now be the grid position. And then we want to draw the tiles. So now that we've drawn the background, we then want to draw the tiles themselves. We also want to give these tiles a border, kind of. Let's say we define the tile border thickness to be 0.05 times the minimum screen dimension, and then we need to draw each of these, and there are 4 of them. And then we want to say I want to pause here just because I somehow want to reuse this switching code here. Like, would it be useful to have a procedure that simply says, draw a tile of this type in this position? This is something to think about for next time, but I'm feeling that the answer is yes, because when we're dragging around in the very least it will stop kind of copy past issues, and when the tiles themselves become complicated enough, because we're doing just stuff with bitmaps, I think it would be useful to have this. Okay, we'll do that next time, but for now we'll just do a crude we'll just draw, you know, basic squares. Yeah, write a procedure which draws an arbitrary tile at an arbitrary position. Use this and rewrite the grid drawing code to use it. Okay, but yeah, for now we'll just do really simple things. So let's just say the tile position is now going to be at the center of this center over here, which was just the background rect position minus the offset. We're gonna have, there's gonna be so many offsets in this code. So an F32, we're converting I to it and then subtracting 2 as usual. So now we have this offset and we're multiplying it by what? By the number of, like the thickness of the tile, which is just the square length. And we're adding to it why don't we do a similar thing that we did to the grid, where we just specify the center of the first tile and then do everything relative to it. I think this would be the easiest way to go. So we can say the left tile option position is equal to the background rect position it is getting late minus basically here just minus 1.5 squares plus 1 of the, it's the same thing as we did above, the square length, but this time instead of using the bar thickness we're using the tile border thickness. Oh, not quite. I kind of want the tile options to be aligned with the grid. They'll just have, they won't be separated as thickly as the grid. Okay, so, okay, we don't really want the tile border thickness. We just want, we honestly want the bar thickness. Okay, and then the offset, the actual tile positions we want now, and then this left tile option position, and then we're adding to this the offset. Okay, we can get rid of a lot of this actually. We don't need to subtract 2 anymore. It's just, we're just doing the square cos, the square length, plus the bar thickness. With no vertical change. Oh, something's gone wrong with parentheses. Better. Okay, and now let's just draw the temporary stuff. So now just draw centered. Draw the centered rect. In the tile position with the square length. We'll add the border thickness. It's not too hard to do. Square length, and let's just make this color black to begin with. And then we want to do the same thing, but with a slightly larger length. So now the square length is I'm going to say tile border length is equal to the square length plus the tile border thickness, and then we have here the tile border length, and we'll make this actually we'll make this one black, and then this one below it can be just the debug. Okay, let's give this a go. 201, not liking pause. Yeah, since this is the grid pause we're using now. Grid pause everywhere. Great. And yeah, this is what I wanted. Everything's aligned, but now the thickness, the border thickness isn't as bad as these ones. For some reason though, the width on this side is kind of larger than the width at the top. Why didn't we? Let's just fix that before we call it a night. And I kind of want to move the position of this down more. So let's move this down to say 7.5. And something's off about the width of it and the height of the grey background. So these also seem too clustered together. I kind of want them aligned though. Okay, so we're saying yeah, these calculations are wrong. Okay, so really what we want to say for the width of this part here is just kind of the width from the leftmost edge of this blue square to the rightmost edge of this green square plus some constant, which we want to say is this option spacing. since we're aligning everything else. Okay. So then this length is 4 times the squares plus 3 times the bar width plus 2 times the spacing. And then for the height, we just want to do 1 lot of the square length plus this tile option spacing. Let's give this a go. Bar width. Bar thickness. Okay, a bit more happy, but I'm still annoyed that the vertical height here is different from, let's just make this full screen. I kind of want this horizontal spacing to be the same as this vertical spacing. And I don't know why we're getting something different. Why is this not working? Oh, it is because we want a 2 times the tile option spacing. Okay. Hopefully this is it. Yup. Good. Okay, at least it's now actually symmetrical. And this, for me, this is too much spacing for the options. Let's turn that down a bit. Let's make it 1.5% instead of 2. This is okay for now. But is it? It's okay for now. Let's just call it a night. Yeah. Why don't we just say started writing, started creating grid tile option selection, or really started making render of grid tile options. Okay, yeah. We've been streaming for an hour. It is enough for me. I now want to go to bed. Yeah, thanks everyone who came and dropped in for a bit, who watched. I'll likely continue this tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that until it's done. But yeah, this was fun. Especially, yeah, thanks to the people on Discord that helped me out with the float conversion stuff. This is so much nicer compared to 4 lines, kind of obviously. Bye everyone.